In this video, I'm going to show you how you can automate Skool communities, as well as getting information on the members inside of those communities, such as their profile information, their social media links, website links, and the information of the communities that they run. So we're going to be using Airtable to get all that information. So you can see here that we'll be able to grab all of the information on the Skool communities, as well as the members inside of those communities. And just to give you an overview, we'll be using make.com automations. We'll have two scenarios where, starting with the Airtable, we'll just need the URL of the Skool community to trigger the workflow. And then from there, we'll be using an app called Apify to scrape all of the data from Skool communities and the members inside of those communities. And we'll be putting back all of the information that Apify was able to get back into the Airtable. So I'm going to walk you through everything step by step so you can follow along and build them yourself. But if you want my automations and the Airtable setup that I've already built out, you can grab all of the files inside of my community. All right, without further ado, let's get started. So first, we're going to set up the Airtable database. We're going to have two different tables, Skool groups and students. So starting with Skool groups, we're going to have the name field, which is going to be the single text. And then we're going to have the Skool URL. It's just going to be the URL field. We're going to have a button called scrape. And basically, this is to trigger the webhook. And you can just copy this code here that I have. We're going to have status, and these are the statuses I have: not started, scraper in progress, completed, and auto added. Then we're going to have the group ID field, and that's going to be single line text. And then we're going to have the owner field, and that is going to be linked to the student table. And then make sure to uncheck the multiple records, because we're just going to have one owner for each Skool group. And then we're going to have a logo field. That's going to be the attachment field type. And then for membership, this is the number of memberships that they currently are in. We're going to make it at 0 decimal place. And then you also want to uncheck this here. And then we're going to have number of courses, modules, total posts, total admins, and total members. So you can just duplicate the same field because they're all going to follow the same structure. After that, you'll have the short description field, and I want to keep that as a long text type. And then I'm going to have the long description field, which is also going to be a long text type. And then I'm going to have the created and updated fields, and those are both going to be the date type, and keep it as local format. And I don't want to check any of these other boxes. So this one is going to be whether it's paid or free. So we can just put paid or free, and that's just going to be a single line text. And then we're going to have the run ID, which is going to be for the automation that we'll create in the next step. And the last field is going to be student. So this is going to be linked to the students table. For this one, we're going to have the first option checked off so that we can have multiple students in the group. All right, next we go to the students table, and we're going to start by creating the first name and the last name field. And for both of them, they're just going to be the single line text. And then I'm going to create a field that will combine the both of them. So I just call it the name field, and it's a formula field. So you can just take this, it's just aggregating the first name and the last name together, followed by a space in the middle, okay? And then we're gonna have join groups and own groups. So those are going to be linked back to the Skool groups, and we're gonna have multiple records allowed for both of them. And then we're gonna have the profile URL, that's just gonna be the URL field. Profile ID, that's just a single line text field. Bio, long text. And we don't need chat requests, so I'm just going to delete that one. I'm also going to delete the last offline field. Okay, and then these are going to be the social media links and the website. So we got Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and website. And they're all going to be URL fields. And then we'll have the created at and the updated at field. For those two fields, I'm going to make them as local date, and then I'm going to include the time, and then the time format is going to be 24 hours. And then we'll have the email field, but I don't see that they are bringing in the actual emails, so I'm just going to delete this field for now because they're not being brought in. Approved that day, we don't need that, so I'm just going to delete it. And then we'll have the last offline field, and same thing, this follows the same format as the created and the updated field. It's going to be including the time and then the 24-hour format. And then we have the created field and the last modified field. The format is going to be local, and we're going to include the time, and the time format will be 12 hours. For the last modified time, you can find that in here, and we're going to keep it in the same format as created time. Local, include time, and 12 hours format. All right, so the next part is going to be creating 2 scenarios in make.com. So first, we're going to create this workflow here. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to trigger a webhook from the Airtable, and then it's going to trigger these actions here. All right, so I'll go through one by one. All right, so the first one is going to be the watch responses. So this is a webhook. So once you set that up, you're going to get this URL, and we're just going to copy that here. And then we're going to go back to our Airtable, and we're going to find the school groups table and look for this scrape column, okay? And then I'm going to double click on that, and inside of the URL formula, I'm just going to replace that link here. So keep everything the way it is after the question mark, and I'm just going to paste it. It should already be in there, so save that. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to trigger the webhook when we click this button. All right, so the first link that I'm going to put is going to be for my Skool community. That's going to be skool.com/easy. Okay, so what it's going to do, and I'm just going to run this campaign. All right, so when I click scrape, it's going to open up a new tab, and it's going to say accept it. It's going to trigger this scenario. Now it's not going to run properly because I connected a different base to this workflow, so it's not going to run properly. So with this, we're going to grab the record that we triggered the webhook from. And then for the third one, we're going to use Apify to scrape the data, and it's free to sign up, and you get $5 of credit every month. So this is more than enough to get started. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to find in the Apify store, we're going to find the Skool member scraper. We're going to run this scraper. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect Apify, and to do that, we're going to go to settings under API. You're going to copy over the API token, and then you can add that here. And then after that, you're going to put the JSON file. So to grab that, what we'll need to do is we'll need to install this cookie extension. So it's called edit this cookie, and you can just search this on Google. I'll also put the link in the description. But we want to download this extension, and after you download this extension, log into your Skool account, and then you're going to click on the extension that you just installed, and then you're going to press this button, which is going to copy the cookie. And then after that, you're going to go back to your scraper, and then under cookies, you're just going to paste that into here. And what we're going to do is we're going to then bring in the JSON file. Okay, so to grab the JSON file, you're going to go to JSON tab here, and then you're just going to copy over all of this and then put it in here. Once you're done, click OK, and then the last step is going to be to update the record. So what we're going to do is we're going to, once the automation is about to be completed, what we're going to do is we're going to update the status in the school groups table to scraper in progress. So that lets us know that the scraping is currently in progress. All right, so let's test this out. So I have my Skool group here, and I'm just going to click scrape, and the webhook is now triggered, and now this automation should be running. So let's see, and you can see that the status is automatically changed to scraper in progress, so that we know that it's running. And we can also come back to Apify and click runs, and you can see here that it is currently running, and this should take a few minutes to complete. So next we're going to build the second scenario, and that's going to be from Apify, and that's going to basically grab the data that we get from Apify to go back into our Airtable records. And you can see here that the automation that we just ran is already taking effect. So let me go into each of them and explain what each of them does. All right, so the first module is going to be the watch actor run module. And basically, you're going to connect your Apify connection, and then you're going to select the Skool members scraper actor. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a unique webhook URL. And you don't have to do anything because it's going to automatically get added into your automation in Apify. So if I go to the scraper and then I go to under integration, you can see here that it's already been set up for me. Now, the only thing I would change about the integration is when you go to integration, make sure that only this one is in here. So run succeed. That's the only time that we want to run this webhook, okay? Then once you have that, you can just save it and you don't have to touch anything else. All right, so let's go to the other modules in our make. So the next one is going to be get dataset files. We're going to grab the default dataset ID from the first module, and then we're going to make the transformation into none, keep it as JSON file, limit at 100, and then keep the offset. And then after that, we're going to do a search Airtable record, and we're going to pick our Skool table, Skool groups table. I'm going to select all of them for the output fields. And then for the formula, we're going to search by the run ID. Okay, so it's going to be this formula. You can just take that. Basically what it's doing, it's going to grab the record based on the default dataset ID. And then next we're going to do a search record, but for profiles this time. And I'm going to select all the fields for the output fields. And this time we're going to select by profile ID. And that is going to be the user details ID, which is in here. So you can just do a search for ID. And then under get dataset, you want to go to the user details and then the ID. That's the one that we'll grab. Next, we're going to add a router and 3 paths. Okay, so let me explain each path. So the first one is if the profile doesn't exist, then we're going to create a new record. Okay, and then the second one is if the profile does exist, we're just simply going to update that record. And what the third one is going to do is it's just going to enter in the group ID for that Skool group. All right, so let's go through the first one. Now, the first one is going to be if the student record doesn't exist, then we're going to create a brand new record. All right, so let's go through the first one. We're going to grab the profile ID, the username, bio. We don't need chat request. We don't need this. We're going to grab first name, last name, their social accounts, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, website. We're also going to grab their location, their Myers-Briggs, and then their profile pic. So the profile pic, so all these details are going to be under user details. Okay, so if I go to get dataset, we're going to be able to find that under user details. So all the data is going to be in for that specific student user data. Okay. And then we're also going to grab the created at, updated at, their email, which I explained in the beginning, we're not going to be able to grab it, so we don't actually need this anymore. For some reason, the emails are not coming through at the moment. We're going to grab their member ID, create it at. We're not going to need this. We're not going to need this either. These, we can just delete these. We're going to grab their profile URL. We don't need this because and then we don't need these either. All right, once you're done, you're going to click OK. And then we're going to add a router. So these routers are going to be for if that person has a Skool community of their own. So this first route is going to be for if this field exists. So group created by user. If this field has data in it, then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new Skool record inside the Skool groups table. So these are the fields that we're going to grab. We're going to grab the Skool name. We're going to grab the URL. So for the URL, I put in the skool.com URL / and then the name of that Skool community. For the status, I put auto added. I grab the user. I grab the group ID, which is here. For the owner, it's going to be the student that we created in this module here. We grab their profile ID, which is called the logo, big URL. Keep the file name empty. Favicon, we don't need this, so I'm just going to remove this. We're going to grab membership, courses, modules, total posts, total admins, total members. Those are all going to be number fields. And then we're going to grab the short description, which is just called metadata description. Then we're going to grab the long description. It's called metadata LP description. We're going to grab the email, which is the GB support email. So for the Skool communities, a lot of them do have the support email, so we are able to grab that email. We're going to grab the created at, the updated at, and the privacy field. Leave the run ID blank. All right, then we're going to click OK. And lastly, we're just going to update the student record to have the owned group field to the group that we just created in. And then I also added an error handler just in case that there are some issues. Here are the configurations. Just click yes for the automatically complete execution after 3 attempts, and then 15 intervals between attempts. Okay, and then after you do that, you also need to set this one to yes, allow storing of incomplete executions. So set that to yes. All right, so the next one is going to be if the profile ID already exists, meaning it's already been created in the student table. What we're going to do is we're just going to update the record. We're going to add the join groups, which is the ID of this record that we found here in this module. And then the rest, we're going to keep them empty. After that, I'm going to add another router, and this is going to be basically the same as this. So you can just shift and copy all that over to here. Again, it's going to be the same thing. So basically, this is for if the student has their own community and that community hasn't been created yet, we're going to create that community. So again, we're going to grab the name, URL, status, the owner of that community, the logo, all of these, which I mentioned earlier. We're just going to link this record that was created to the own groups column. And then again, I'm going to add an error handler here, same setting as earlier. So yes for the automatically complete execution, 3 attempts, and then 15 interval. The second route is going to be if the student has their own group, but the group already exists in the table, in the Skool groups table here. And what that's going to do is we're just going to then update that record. So if that record already exists, we're just going to say that the status is completed. All right, so let's put this to the test here. I'm gonna grab another community. Now, this scraper only works if you are already a member of the community. It won't work if you're not a member. So I am a member of this community, so let's grab the URL here, and then I'm gonna put that under Skool groups, and I'm gonna put it here, and then I'm gonna name it Skool Master Class Free. Okay, and then I'm gonna click scrape. All right, so the webhook has run, and I can see that it is running here. And so what I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for it to populate the students here. And if the students have their own Skool community, then they're going to be automatically added into the Skool groups table as well. All right, so we can already see that the Skool communities are getting added because a lot of the students in that group have their own Skool community. So you can see that it's starting to come in. And if I go to the students tab, and I can already see that also is getting populated here. All right, so what I was able to grab is I was able to grab the groups that they are joined in. If they have their own Skool community, I can also see those. I have their profile ID, username, their bio, their names, their social media profiles if they do exist. You can see all of that here. Their Myers-Briggs if they populated that, their location, their profile pic, when that account was created, when it was last updated, email, like I mentioned, it's not going to be populated, so it's going to be blank. And these two fields are not necessary. I don't usually need it, but they are there if you do want them. And then I have the profile URL and when this record was created and when it was last modified. All right, that's pretty much it. I hope you are able to follow along and build this yourself. If you just want this exact blueprint that I've already exported out, then you can join my community to grab those, and I'll also be able to give you tech support if you run into any issues. All right, thanks for watching.